Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our MXGP TV live studio show, live and exclusive on MXGPTV.com every weekend from the FIM Motocross World Championship. It's round 10. We're now at the halfway stage of the best motocross series in the world, and this time we're in France. And we've got our first guest in place. But before we meet him, let me introduce the rest of the show. We've got Marshall Welton, we've got Christophe Pourcel, and we've got Marnik Vavotz coming in. But before we go any further, Lisa Leyland, our presenter, as always. You know what? It's a busy weekend, isn't it, at the moment? We're in the second run of 3 in a row. Yeah. We were in Matterley Basin last week, France this week. We go to Italy next week, and there's been a lot going on.
I mean, if you blink, you'll miss it. There's so much happening, and also busy GPs as well. The fans are amazing here. First thing in the morning, they're here. Yeah. Nice weather, so it's going to be a very busy weekend.
Well, it will be.
Good way.
Well, look, time to meet our first guest. We got a fantastic ride last week at the British Grand Prix at Matterley Basin. We're talking Marshall Welton from Jumbo Vamo No Fear Honda, or Jumbo No Fear Vamo Honda. It's a bit of a mouthful, but welcome to our first studio show. But before we talk about last week at Matterley Basin, just a quick background check on you, if you don't mind. Where are you from? What's your brief history? And how have you ended up here in MXGP?
Oh, yeah, I just want to say thanks for having me on the show. Yeah, brief history. I'm from Michigan in the United States. I lived there most of my life until I was 17. Then after that, I made the move to South Carolina and lived at Club MX training facility for like four or 5 years, around that range. And then did the amateur scene and some privateer stuff in America, and got the opportunity to come to Europe. It sounded like an awesome deal to me, and race the European Championship. And
you're still here?
Yeah. Then I decided to try to make my way back for the next year to follow it up. So.
All right. Well, look, last week, Matterley Basin, fantastic ride. MX2 Race 1, 5th position. I've got to say, you took that Jumbo No Fear Vamo Honda and you rode it like you stole it. And the smile returned to your face as well. You've got to be happy with that.
Yeah. No, for sure. There's a lot of people behind the team this year. And no, it was a really, really nice race. I really kind of surprised myself a little bit. It's like I put myself in position on the first lap to be up front, and I don't know, about halfway I was like 7th or 8th, and then yeah, like right there as you see, I'm making my way, I think, into 6th or 7th. But no, it's just nice to be battling up front and not for that 15th place or 20th place spot. It was like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it is your first year in MX2. Would you say it's perhaps been a little bit more difficult than you thought or had hoped for? Because you did wildcard last year in Lockett and you were 9th overall. So how does it compare to do the full season?
Yeah, it's I didn't come into the season thinking it was going to be easy. I didn't underestimate it, but I was hoping that I could kind of work my way up a little bit better than I have been. We've had quite a bit of unfortunate events with, with either me getting into it on the track or just crazy bike things that, shouldn't happen. But, things are starting to come together and click a little bit, and hopefully I can carry that momentum into this weekend.
You said things are starting to come together and click. We did speak to you before the race last week, and you said that you made a few upgrades on the bike for improvement, and it actually has seemed to work.
Yeah, no, the team and Honda both have really stepped up, and Mr. Thompson from Vortex Ignitions also is stepping in to kind of help with the tuning of the bike. But no, I think it kind of shows the bike's kind of coming around a little bit, and my riding's following up a little bit as well.
Well, the second race wasn't too bad either, was it, at Matterley? I know you had a poor start, but you fought through the field, came home 13th. So in some ways, were you just as pleased with that performance as you were with the 5th in race 1? Because you had to work hard to get there.
Yeah, when I went down on the first lap, it was like frustrating. I just wanted to punch the handlebars. But no, I was happy with the overall finish. I definitely fought back, and usually I don't do so well with fighting through the field like at the end of the race, but it was to get an 8th overall in the top 10. I mean, I'm definitely happy with that.
Okay. Well, this is your second year in Europe after racing the EMX 250 last year. How difficult has it been adjusting to the European lifestyle, the way of life over here compared to America?
Yeah, it feels like a vacation.
Really?
Not difficult then at all.
No, it's really not that difficult. I definitely enjoy experiencing the new cultures. This year I'm living in the Netherlands, and last year I lived in the south of France in Hossegor. So both of those places are quite nice. I'm definitely not struggling in poverty or anything. Good food everywhere. I really enjoy going to check out little coffee cafes or nice dinner restaurants. But no, I've really enjoyed it. Met a lot of cool people along the way, and no, everybody's been great to me.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? When particularly riders, when they come from America, they find it difficult because of the language barrier, the cultures. They can't order food on a menu. But glad to see that you're adapting and actually enjoying it.
No, I've definitely made friends that have helped me with everything, and it is difficult when you show up and you can't read anything, or if sometimes you feel a little bit excluded when you're hanging out with a group of people and they're all speaking Dutch or French and just trying to piece it together, and eventually you just kind of quit and trying to think about it, and you're just sitting there by yourself. So.
Nodding and smiling.
Okay, you done yet? Okay.
Really no, mates. Well, look, let's take you back to last year, European 250 round in Portugal, 3rd overall, got on the podium. Did the season go to plan or better than expected last year, or were you expecting more in the end?
I didn't really have an expectation. I just wanted to, do the best I could. But
on a Kawasaki here, by the way.
Yeah, right there in 3rd. But no, I don't know how it went. I mean, you always want to win. I don't go to the race thinking like, oh, hopefully I can get a top 15 this time or something. I go to the line with the mentality I want to be up front and I want to be contending for a win, whether I'm capable of that or not. But if I'm going to the line thinking like, oh yeah, I just like to be there at the, like just to be out there, it's really not that fun. It's just, I think any true racer has the mentality of, you want to win in deep down. So
a little bit loose here.
Yeah.
But you got the pass done.
No, that was actually last lap pass for the 3rd overall. I passed Borame right there. That was for the overall, and that was a cool race. That definitely was also kind of like last weekend, almost like a sigh of relief, and to make it up on the podium. And Charbonneau actually won that race, so the United States anthem, American anthem played, and it was like, felt like such a patriot.
A little taste of home.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have a question on social media for you. This one's from Pat459 Strana, and he says, if you could be successful at anything apart from motocross, what would it be in sport or otherwise?
Dang, that's a tough one.
Okay, well, that's right.
That. Brilliant. I hope that answered your question.
I've never even thought about it.
Good question.
Bikes is where it's at the moment.
Yeah, bikes is where it's at. I don't know. I think a professional cyclist would be pretty cool. I really enjoy watching cycling, and I mean, that would be kind of miserable, I think, but it'd be cool to call yourself a champion.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, Marshall Weltin, thanks for joining us here on the studio show. Our second guest is in position, ready to come in, Christophe Pourcel. Before we meet him, though, let's just take a quick look at what happened a week ago. Here's some MX2 highlights from MXGP of Great Britain. Race 2. Race 2 got underway. And once again, it was Jorge Prado on the Red Bull KTM, this time with hole shot number 11. Just behind him, Henry Jacobi, Paul Jonas. Calvin Volanderen was well positioned. So too was Thomas Kjær Olsen, who was giving chase to the South African. David Puches was in there briefly as well on the LRT KTM. He would eventually come home in 8th place. Poor starts for Ben Watson and Marshall Weltin. Whilst up front, the 61 of Prado rode his luck as Jed Beaton went out after a huge crash in the opening stages of the race. Yago Geerts and Rima Fernandez touched rubber, and both were lucky to stay up in around the top 10 position. Fernandez, though, started to fade back again, but his time up the front was an experience he'll never forget. He eventually came home in 16th place. Henry Jacobi for STC Racing Husqvarna, number 29, was circulating in 3rd, but he was being caught by Thomas Kjær Olsen, number 19, and the number 10 HRC Honda of Calvin Volanderen. The two Husqvarnas would collide in the tightest corner of the track. Volanderen accepted the gift with both hands. He moved from 5th to 3rd before the halfway stage of the race. Up front, Prado was looking dangerous, but he could not shake the threat of his teammate, number 1, Paul Jonas. And with 6 laps to go, Jonas got alongside the 61
and in a daring move around the outside, won the Bravery Award as he picked off the 61 to take over the lead. Fantastic action from the two Red Bull KTM riders. Thomas Kjær Olsen's luck would run out again. No points for the guy in third place. He fell from fifth. Watson was the beneficiary of that, though. The Khmer Yamaha rider made a late pass to go fourth when he made a move on Henry Jacobi, and he would move to within 10 points of Thomas Kjær Olsen in the fight for third in the championship. But it was a double moto win, the 11th race win of the year for Paul's Jonas. Prado could only look on from behind in second. Valandren came home in third. Watson was fourth, Jacobi was fifth, and the overall belonged to Jonas, with Prado and Valandren on the podium for the second weekend in a row. Jonas now leads the championship by 28 points. Ben Watson has moved to within 9 points of Thomas Kjær Olsen, but it's Jonas who continues to lead in MX2 as we reach the halfway stage of the World Championship.
Welcome back to our live studio show here on MXGPTV.com. That was 1 week ago, Matterley based in the MXGP of Great Britain. We're now in France, of course, at St.Jean d'Angely. How do we say it, Lisa?
St.Jean d'Angely.
There you go.
I think that was pretty perfect, wasn't it?
St.Jean d'Angely.
St.Jean d'Angely.
There you go. I saw Gauthier Paulin was trying to give you some lessons.
He gave me some tips.
Well, look, our second guest is in place. Of course, former world champion from 2006 MX2, Christophe Pourcel. Christophe, welcome to our studio show. Recently retired and now brand ambassador for Just One helmets and Just One, the brand in general. How are you finding retirement, first of all, and how did this opportunity come about with these guys?
You know, to retire and, you know, motocross is always a tough decision to make. You never know when is a good time. Yeah. So after I broke my neck twice in 2016, and I think I was pretty close from being paralyzed again. So it was, I think it was time for me to retire. I won a world championship, and then wanted to go to the US and try to beat the Americans. So you know, I won a title there. You know, you always want to do more, but I feel like I did pretty good. I wish I would have done a little bit better, but overall, it's been pretty good, though.
What is your role at Just One, then? Are you there just to say hello to the fans, or will you be working quite closely with them to develop new products? What does it entail?
With Just One helmet, so we do the product and stuff like this, but my goal is more to work with them to help them find the best rider in the US, because they need help for that, and also help them with the budget for France for finding riders and stuff like this, or sponsorship side, and otherwise I'll help them for, you know, a brand ambassador. We'll do video and I'll write with the gear and stuff like this. So we, you know, see a lot of people in France, so it's nice that they enjoy the product and stuff like this, and the product is from Italy, so they do a pretty good job. Yeah.
Well, we just saw there last week, Michele Chervelin was wearing the apparel, the off-road apparel, and it's been really good. A lot of positive feedback from that as well.
Yeah, the new gear, you know, is a process. You know, it's 2018, but we're coming with a new line for 2019, and looking to get some new guys for MXGP and also in the US. So hopefully we get, you know, 1 or 2 top guys in the US for next year for the gear and stuff like this. So we.
All right. Well, look, more from excuse me, more from Christophe in a moment. But you want to find out how you can get an excellent deal on our MXGP TV season package? Well, it looks like Christmas came early, folks, because the MXGP of France this weekend marks the halfway stage of the FIM Motocross World Championship. And to celebrate, MXGP TV is offering you the chance to take full advantage of our mid-season package, where you can purchase the MXGP TV season pass at a 50% discount. That's half price to you and me.
Absolutely, and you will be able to watch all the action from MXGP, MX2 and WMX, including all the EMX 125, 250s, 300s live and on demand, which also includes the first 9 rounds. Even better, the deal also includes the Monster Energy FIM Motocross of Nations at Redbud in October for €65. What are you waiting for? For more info, go to mxgptv.com. So that's an exciting promo for you. But back to Christophe now. Let's talk about this weekend. We're in France. This would have been your home GP as a rider. Is this going to be the first time you're going to have to watch it from the sidelines?
It's a good question. Actually, I had to watch a little bit last time when we came here in 2012, I think, for the destination.
Yeah.
And I
11.
I think
Yeah.
11 or 12.
Yeah.
I was riding with Denji and Vilopoto, and my moose came out of my tire, so we actually lost that day, and we finished second because it wasn't my fault. The bike, but so I had to watch the second moto, and I mean it's not very good memory for me.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But overall, yeah, I like to watch. Like to watch Tony for sure, and he's my best friend. So. I enjoy watching him, but at the moment he's having a hard time on the track. So hopefully Jeffrey gives him a little break.
Well, look, I don't think you ever won a French GP, but you did win your world title at Ernée in France in 2006. What do you remember about that, actually, and how was it winning at home in front of all these people? How was it then, and what are your thoughts now? Were you kind of bewildered and maybe overawed by what happened after that?
Just, to win a world championship, and we can see my mechanic Jeremy on the side. I mean, in France, all the fans and Ernée, I mean, is one of the best track in France, winning in front of everyone at 17 years old. And Tony came in, gave me the plate. So, I mean, we're still friends today. So it was just an amazing year for sure. I mean, it was the best moment of my life, probably.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Well, we have a question for you, Christophe, on social media. This one's from Matthias Greening 334. What was your favourite race or motocross, supercross experience? Kind of answered it already with that.
I mean, I would say probably this, Ernée, but I have to say also when I was paralyzed in 2007 for a 4 year, then I went back to the US in 2009 and won my first race back. Wow. So in Atlanta, and that was a surprise. So I mean, I couldn't believe it. Being paralyzed, and I didn't even know if I was going to be able to go on the bike. The doctors was saying no at the beginning, but you challenge yourself, you push yourself, and you believe in your dream. And I really wanted to go to the US to try to beat them because they were the best in Supercross. So I did that, and that was one of the best feelings for sure.
Great. Okay, well, we have one more question for you from IC Graphics. How glad are you not to be racing and dealing with all the hassle and stress that often does come with racing?
Yeah, it's a good question for sure because it's a lot of stress when you race, but when you don't race, it's still a lot of stress because you see a lot more people, you take a lot more picture, you do a lot more marketing stuff, so it's a different stress. I would say for the injuries, for sure, it's a lot better to not race. But other than that, it's still a busy weekend. We talk to a lot of people. I mean, we're nonstop all weekend, and we watch all our friends on the track, and some people crash and stuff like this. So it's still a stressful weekend.
Okay.
Well, look, before we do go, we've got about 30 seconds. There were a lot of comments on social media, but Pat Strana said, Paul Sell, one of the greatest ever. On paper, people may think I'm crazy, but to come back from that horrific injury and win those Supercross titles, nearly win outdoors, win Grand Prix, etc., it's like being a superhuman. He's a massive fan. Buttonfly, Jimmy Button, I'm sure you know this guy. The guy is such a legend, such a precise rider, was awesome to watch. Bad dude. We also had a guy, Ben 16880. He said he felt the factory ride at Kawasaki Kawasaki made a huge mistake not hiring you in 2011. You deserve that place alongside RV, and they owed it to you for the championship with the race wins you had and everything else. But it must have been a huge disappointment spending the next few years trying to find a team environment where you were happy amid lots of wild, often negative speculation. But you rarely spoke up for yourself. So do you wish that you had kind of spoke up a little bit more during that period? How do you feel about that period now, really quickly?
Oh, actually,
any regrets about those decisions?
Oh, it wasn't my decision. Actually, at Kawi, we had this talk before with RV. We were very good friends. I would go to his house and eat with him and stuff like that. But once I moved up to the 450, he didn't want me in the team. So he just said it's either me or Chris. So he took my spot, and the second bike was there, and Jake Weimer went there. But that was my bike, so. I lost a lot of money there. All I wanted is to ride Kawi because I knew I was going to be able to win. So I didn't want to adapt to another bike, and I refused all the other offer. it was not for money or anything. It
No.
was just all I wanted is a Kawi, and I raced for Kawi for 10 or 15 years. So I was just sad about the situation.
Yeah. Well, look, we are out of time, unfortunately, but Christophe Bourcel, thanks for joining us here this weekend, and all the best with Just One. Right, we're going to take a quick break now to watch, excuse me, some of the highlights from MXGP Race 2, Matchley Basin a week ago. When we come back, we'll be with Marnik Bavorts, team manager for Khmer Yamaha Official MX2.
After an explosive end to MXGP Race 1, all eyes were on the 84 and the 222, but it was Tim Geiser who got to the turn first, only to be pipped by Kai Rowley. The Slovenian then, though, rode roughshod down the next straight and faded back to about 8th place. Kai Rowley grabbed an early advantage once again. Bobryshev was in around 7th place, just behind Koldenhoff. Dessau was on the move as well, got himself into 2nd ahead of Fevre, and Hurlings was quickly advancing first into 4th and then into 3rd with this pass on the Monster Energy Yamaha of Roman Fevre. Just behind them was Alessandro Lupino for Geben van Venrooy Kawasaki. He would eventually come home in 7th place. Another epic pass from Jeffrey Hurlings. Commitment all the way down one of the fastest hills on the racetrack into some of the roughest bumps. Didn't deter him though. He was up into 2nd position and going after, guess who? 222, Tony Kai Rowley once more. Geiser recovered well after that poor start, and he was inside the top 5 on his HRC machine. Fevre and Geiser were providing the battle for the fans, but Clément Dessau fell from 3rd. He allowed Fevre and Geiser to go through, but the Belgian picked himself up and rejoined the race. Tim Geiser couldn't quite find his way around the outside of Romain Fevre despite several attempts, and the Frenchman held on to 3rd for just a little longer. 25, Dessau though got himself alongside Geiser as he battled once again for 4th place. He eventually kept up the Slovenian before finding his way through with a triple combination through the wave section, got him into 4th place, but he wasn't able to do anything about Fevre, who was still hanging on to 3rd. Meanwhile, the battle was intense once more. Tony Kai Rowley had been caught by his teammate Jeffrey Hurlings. Lightning couldn't strike twice, could it? Guess what? It did. The final lap, Hurlings scythed his way up the inside of Kai Rowley and went on to take his 14th race win of the season, his 7th Grand Prix win of the year, his 74th Grand Prix victory, and his 100th KTM podium. He now leads the championship by 54 points over Tony Kai Rowley. Dessau is in 3rd, but a good weekend for Romain Fevre on the podium for the first time in 10 races. Jeffrey Hurlings, though, continues to lead as we head to France, round 10.
Well, that was a week ago, and here we are back in France, round 10, halfway stage. Marnik Bavorts is now with us, team manager, Khmer Yamaha Official MX2. Welcome to our studio show, Marnik.
Thank you.
I know we're halfway now, but for this year, you had to choose an all-new lineup of riders with Ben Watson, Jago Geerts, and Seba. Very young team. How important is that for you? Of course, Seba a little bit older.
Yes, we wanted to go for the future, and we want to sign up some talent riders for a few years, so we can work together with the structure of the team and build something up. And that's why we wanted Ben Watson and Jago Geerts. Seba was a different story because he's older, and it was we want to have somebody who was already a few years in MX2 and he won a Grand Prix in Mexico, to give him a chance to prove himself in MX2.
Okay.
Okay, well, the team has already had success, really, in 2018. Let's start talking about Ben Watson. He took his first podium on the hard pack of Russia, which we're going to see in a minute. Was that the biggest surprise? Because he's actually a Sandman, isn't he?
Yes, It is not a big surprise, but I was really satisfied is that he can do it also on the hard pack, because it's really important. You have 20 Grand Prix and you have only 4 or 5 Grand Prix in sand. So, but we knew that he had the talent and the skill to do it. And with Jackie is working really hard with the guys. Went many times to France for practicing and training, and yeah, we were really happy on that track that he could do a podium.
He seems to be working well with Jackie Beaumont as well. Was that tough for him to move away from home?
No, I was thinking about that, because I heard some rumors in the paddock that that's going to be difficult. Because I remember myself, if I have to live in England or another country, it's really difficult. But if you're professional and you have a goal, then you have to do it. And he did a really good job for the moment. So they're working really good together, and he makes also a lot of good results, and that makes him happy, and will continue the system.
How impressed with you with his riding in Matterley Basin a week ago? Because you know, especially the first race, what did he do? Hit the gate and then or stalled or something like that. But he came through and put in 2 solid rides, just missed the podium. Were you really impressed with his performance last week at home?
Yes, of course. And I see
because a lot of people said it was difficult to pass, but he found.
Yes, and this is the things. Every Grand Prix I see him growing. In some situations, mentality, sand rider, hard track, coming back from the back. So I think he has a lot of potential for the future. These
were nice passes here. I mean, this was, like, I think, the second race around the outside of Jacoby, you know, on the downhill. I've not seen if you've seen it, but a fantastic move. I thought he'd messed up there, and then all of a sudden he pulled it back, and he just found lines that a lot of guys weren't finding. So, again, a combination of feeling confident on the hard pack, working with Jackie. There's that pass.
Yes.
You know, couldn't have gone any better, really, other than getting on the podium.
No, and also he needs... I think he has a potential to be a top 3 rider. He's almost there. But if he believes more in himself, we go step by step. And with him, it's the same, I think, in his head. If you have the confidence, and he will make podiums and maybe fight one day for the title.
What about Jago, though? Obviously, it's his rookie season. He's already been on the podium, 2nd overall in Latvia. He almost won a race there as well, and he's still in kindergarten.
Yes, he's still going to school. He's still going to school, and he cannot practice so much on French tracks, for example. So on hardpack, he has a little bit difficult to race. But he surprised me also, because in the beginning of the season, we were thinking like Ben, between 5 and 8, and Jago between 10 and 15, and see what's happening. And if you see what results we're making now with them, it's unbelievable, actually.
Absolutely, but I mean, Jago's form has dipped a little bit the past couple of rounds, and like you mentioned, do you think that's a combination of the hard pack tracks and the school studies having to take that priority?
I think if he's free in his mind and he can be a professional rider, completely focused on the sport, he can do a step again.
And I guess he's looking forward to the Belgium GP in a few rounds' time.
Yes, but you need to deal with the pressure, and we will see how it's going to work. But normally in sand tracks, he's really fast and really good. And hopefully he can do a podium again. I don't want to see him winning races. If he can, of course, but I don't want to put pressure on. But if he can do a podium again, I think we must be happy.
All right. Well, obviously, Sever's out injured. You've had to bring in A-Rod, Anthony Rodriguez. He seems to be improving every time he goes on the bike, from the first race, second race, third race, fourth moto, you know, better results, better overall, better qualifying races. What is it that he's bringing to the team, and how is it working with him?
Well, you know, when Yamaha decided to bring him over from USA, the first practice was really difficult for him. Another bike, flying over from USA, directly training the week after doing a Grand Prix, and no testing, just ride Seva's bike. It was pretty difficult for him. But if you see every training, every qualifying, every race, he's improving, making improvement, and that's really good for him.
All right. Well, look, we didn't have a social media question, but we did have from Pat Strana. He's been busy today, old Pat Strana. He says, Bavots is a legend. All right. I so wish he had more luck, because there were many days he was the fastest rider on the planet. Yamaha are incredibly lucky to have such a great guy on the team. Huge fan, childhood hero. You still got one fan.
He's blushing. He's blushing.
No, it's like that, you know. Sometimes it's difficult for me also that I had to ride with Stefan Everts. Yeah, he's the legend and 10 times world champion. And I almost beat him a few times, but I did my best, and I think the problem was also a little bit born in the sand. You know, coming from amateur federation, it takes some time. And I lost my father in '93. if I didn't have this, I was maybe a little bit stronger mentally.
Sure.
I don't think it's true, but maybe, and then it's maybe a different story. But thank you.
No problem. Well, look, Marnie, we are out of time. All the best for the second half of the season, all your riders, and we'll see you again soon. Marnie, for course, everybody. But that rounds off our studio show here at St.Jean d'Angely. You can catch all the qualifying racing live today, 4:25 local time for MX2, and 17:10, 5:10 for the MXGP. We've also got EMX 250 and 125 first races as well. So make sure you stay tuned and enjoy the action today. We'll see you next week in Italy at Ottobiano. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.